I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. Hilary Salazar, VP of Product Marketing at People.ai, and Christine Ramirez, VP of Marketing at Full Circle Insights. Together, they have over 30 years experience. With that, I'll go ahead and pass this over to Hilary to kick things off.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Seer, and thanks everybody for joining us for our webinar today. Super excited to have Full Circle Insights join us for this webinar. So before we get into the myths between sales and marketing alignment, wanted to give some high-level overview on our two solutions. So People.ai, for those who aren't familiar, is an AI platform for data-driven sales and marketing teams. What does that actually mean? We allow you to automatically capture all the activity that a salesperson is doing throughout their ordinary day, all the people they are sending emails to, receiving emails from, all the people that they're meeting with on their calendar, is it a call, is it in person, and automatically get all that information into the CRM and eliminating that manual data entry. With all that rich data, we're able to drive better sales and marketing alignment, more intelligent sales management, and which we'll talk about later on, actually get ROI on your marketing programs. And let me pass it over to Christine.
Thanks, Hilary. Super excited to be here today with you guys. For those of you who aren't already familiar with Full Circle Insights, we're a marketing performance management solution, and we enable full funnel visibility tracking, both funnel metrics, so that's the volume of your leads at each stage, the velocity of those leads as they're moving through the funnel, and conversion rates from stage to stage, as well as multi-touch attribution. Our solution is a native Salesforce application, and it does integrate with all the major marketing automation platforms. And by tracking your marketing performance data inside Salesforce, the sales and marketing teams can rally around a single source of truth. Heading to the next slide, seemingly since the dawn of time, there's been a lot of discussion of sales and marketing alignment. Alignment really isn't just a nice to have anymore. Rather, it's quite necessary if you plan to drive growth for your organization. Serious Decisions, in fact, estimates that having alignment can drive between 5 and 36% of the organization's growth. So that's some pretty significant growth. If we go to the next slide, it often feels like there's this huge divide between sales and marketing, but the reality is that our sales counterparts are actually wanting alignment as well, so it's not just us. Salesforce is the source for these particular stats on this slide, which say 68% of sales professionals say it's absolutely critical or very important to have a single view of the customer. But on the opposite side of the coin, 17% of the sales teams rate their single view as outstanding. So there's a lot of improvement to be had in this arena, which gets me to myth number 1 on the next slide. And going to the next slide, which actually has the myth, marketing reporting directly in Salesforce is too difficult. Moving right along to the slide after that, many marketers believe Salesforce doesn't serve marketers well, but that's a myth. Hopefully, you're here today to help us as we debunk this myth. At the end of the day, the goal is to understand how leads are progressing through your funnel. And the perception is that Salesforce doesn't quite provide the campaign performance metrics or the KPIs that marketing cares about. If you're in this camp, the consequence is that you're doing all of your reporting out of the marketing automation platform, and inevitably your numbers aren't matching sales numbers, and so therefore marketing tends to lose credibility. Heading to the next slide, this is the traditional rift between sales and marketing. We've got our marketing automation platforms, and sales has Salesforce on their side, and never the twain shall meet. There are huge data disconnects between the platform, and that's because the systems aren't natively integrated. Moving right along, the good news is there's a way to solve this, and that's, of course, with a fully native Salesforce application that integrates sales and marketing data. Then you can get funnel reporting. The key is tracking lead responses and mapping them to lead progression. So let's take a look at an example on the next slide. This is what I'm talking about. You're looking at this screenshot. It's Full Circle Insights Response Management product inside Salesforce. you can see the campaign history on the lead record and track engagement with specific campaigns. In this case, you see Bob Hurley responded to the restaurant monthly campaign first and then hit an MQL threshold after responding to a Google ad. If you go to the next slide, then by looking at the campaign member detail, you can actually see funnel progression on the left-hand side and the corresponding date stamps on the right side. This kind of tracking is the key to comprehensive performance reporting. If you go to the next slide, you can see that you can also build funnel performance reports for each campaign. So here's an example of a report for August monthly newsletter, and you can see the volume of leads at each stage and the associated conversion rates. I'll pause here for a moment so you can take a look. The checkboxes show the various stage, MQL, SAL, SQL, SQL to 1. If you have different stages, those can be customized as well. And then the corresponding conversion rates from stage to stage are listed as percentages on the right-hand side. If you go to the next slide, you can see that there's lots of ways to slice the data, and you can look at all your campaigns' funnel performance in aggregate. So that's what you're seeing in this example report. You can see the various campaigns on the right, sorry, actually on the left, the other right, on the left, and the volume of leads associated with each campaign, and then the volume of at each stage along with the conversion rates from stage to stage. This allows you to compare the funnel performance between campaigns. In this example, you can see that the email campaign netted the highest volume of SQL to 1 leads, while it had closed to the lowest inquiry to MQL conversion rates. Once it got to the other stages, they had some of the highest conversion rates of all the campaigns that were run. Moving right along, since all the campaign information is stored inside Salesforce, you can actually slice and dice the data virtually any way you want. This is a standard funnel velocity report looking at various campaigns and the velocity of each campaign from stage to stage. In this case, the lower the number, the better. So Hillary, let's talk about myth number 2.
Excellent. So on that prior screen, we saw MQL to a sales accepted lead to a sales qualified lead, and that's where we see a lot of the disconnect. How do you get visibility into that sales activity once the lead is passed over to your sales team? And it can sometimes feel like a black box. Marketing is rolling out programs, delivering what they think are high quality leads, but what is actually happening to them from that stage of sales accepted lead, sales qualified lead, to close won or to close lost? That's where we miss a lot of the detail. The fact is that less than half of sales activity is actually making it into the CRM. Reps are on the go, they enter what they can, but typically the majority of what they're doing is actually not getting into the system. No matter how many carrots and sticks we put in front of them, they're still left with hours of manual data entry. Managers then don't have a complete picture of what their team is doing. How many calls are they making? How many emails are they sending and receiving? How are they spending their time, and how do we optimize their activities? And of course, marketing is in turn also left with an incomplete picture on their programs and on the leads that are going over to sales. This may be a little bit of an extreme example, but you log into Salesforce, you want to see what's happened to that lead or that contact record, and oftentimes you're going to see a blank picture. And whether it's a won opportunity or a lost opportunity, there's a lot of detail in between those different funnel stages that gets lost in the shuffle. So we believe you actually can capture all that sales activity and do it without interrupting the day-to-day flow of a rep. Think of all the different ways they're spending their time. They're sending emails, they're receiving emails, they're setting up meetings, they're setting up calls, they're on web conferences, maybe they're listening to webinars, they're doing a lot of research. What if you could just automatically capture all that activity without changing their behavior at all? And that's what People AI does. We then take all that data and intelligently map it to the correct objects in Salesforce. Was that activity associated with a lead, with a contact? Is that contact on an opportunity? So not asking reps to do anything additional in their day-to-day, but still getting all that rich activity data into your Salesforce. So the output is actual transparency into what your teams are doing. If you look at this screenshot on the right-hand side, you're seeing all those meetings, all those emails over a period of time. That's giving you one source of truth for that activity data. As a manager, imagine being able to ramp someone and knowing exactly what they need to do, how they need to spend their day, and then take your best reps and actually replicate what good looks like, what success looks like, and having one view of all that activity. So what Christine talked about at the beginning was having that full funnel visibility into Salesforce. You add to that all of the activity data. The question is, how do you put it all together so that you can actually measure the impact of revenue on all of your marketing activities? So there's no such thing, I believe, as a typical funnel anymore, but imagine this is kind of your typical one. Marketing traditionally owns the top of this piece, filling the funnel with leads, qualifying those leads, and then we pass them off to sales traditionally, and sales owns this piece of the puzzle. But how do you put it all together with what we showed in those first two myths? So we believe it actually is possible, if you take all those activities, to calculate the impact of revenue and actually do revenue attribution. So we're capturing on the left-hand side all of those rich activities on the contact records. We can then take those contact records and associate them to the right opportunity. So think about contact roles on an opportunity, and then take those contacts and those opportunities, actual dollar amounts, and tie them to specific campaigns to be able to do true revenue attribution. Here's kind of a view of what it looks like. On the left-hand side, we're automatically capturing all that contact data and assigning opportunity contact roles in some cases, and then passing it over to Christine, what we can do with all that data on the revenue attribution side. We might be muted.
You're right, I was muted. Thank you. So because you can associate the opportunity amount to each campaign and each of the campaign members, you're able to see how much revenue marketing has influenced. So on the right-hand side, you see August monthly is influencing nearly 4.7 million in revenue. If we go to the next slide, perhaps, there we go. You actually then can look at each campaign and how much revenue marketing has influenced in various attribution models. The great thing about Full Circle Insights is that in response management, you can actually run 3 models at the same time, which can be quite useful to tell you slightly different things. So what you're seeing here is one multi-touch model, which is on the left-hand side, the even spread. And that model, for example, gives you a sense of the marketing mix and the associated weighting of each campaign and the revenue that those campaigns have influenced. Then you have in the middle the first touch model, and that's great if it's most important for your organization to understand what campaign brought in the lead. And then on the right-hand side, you see the primary campaign, which is the campaign that caused the opportunity to happen. There are a lot of different attribution models that you can use. We have, I think, done webinars on them ourselves, and in our resource center even have an attribution cheat sheet that gets into much more sophisticated models and where you would use each different model. But we'll leave it at this high-level overview for now. So moving right along to the summary slide, the takeaway in all of this is that sales and marketing alignment is both necessary for growth for the organization and completely achievable if you standardize on a single source of truth. Funnel progression can and should be tracked inside Salesforce in order to create comprehensive lead and campaign performance metrics. There's some great technology out there to automatically capture all sales activity data, taking the burden off of sales while helping marketing get the data that we need. And lastly, you can create additional alignment between the organizations and build trust by establishing attribution reporting truths that then can inform campaign optimizations. I think with that, we've had a quite efficient webinar. Just get in, get out, and I guess get on with our lives. I think we got to the point. But Sierra, Hillary, I'll turn it back over to you because I think we have a Q&A session.
Excellent. Thank you, Christine.
Yes, thank you, Hillary and Christine. Definitely appreciate your insights today. As a reminder, the Q&A is open, so we welcome your questions. I see a couple of them have already come in, so we'll go ahead and start at the top and go through there. First question for Christine, I think this is for you, and Hillary, feel free to weigh in as well. What models of attribution do you recommend using? Do I need multiple models, or can I pick just one?
I guess I can start on that. I think that's a great question. You know, how I would start off that answer is it really just depends on your business strategy and your campaign strategy and what it is that you're trying to achieve, and that will inform which model or models you use. I do like running 3 models because they do give you slightly different information. I do like to have an even spread model, and while it's a little simplistic from a multi-touch model, it does, for me, give me a sense of what the optimal marketing mix actually is. There are a lot of very sophisticated multi-touch attribution models, and we probably don't have enough time to get into each and every one of them. Again, we do have on our Resource Center a cheat sheet that kind of gives you the overall methodology, what it's used for, and the pros and cons of each of them. And then, you know, there are single touch models as well, and I don't want to poo-poo them at all and just say that you should use a multi-touch model. It's nice to have those, but the single touch models also really offer some great insights as well, like the first touch model. I think it's always interesting to understand what campaigns are bringing in your new leads, right? What was the first thing that, you know, got somebody interested in your organization? So that's my high-level answer to a very detailed question that we could have an entire webinar on. Hillary, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add to that.
No, I think that's great, Christine.
Yeah, definitely lots of great questions coming in, so please keep submitting them. The next question comes to us. What can marketing do to impact bottom funnel conversion rates?
Yeah, Christine, you want to start on that one?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. I think understanding who your target is and what they need along the way to making a decision is really key on this one. And then, you know, working with your sales enablement team is also recommended to ensure that the right content is delivered at the right time. Generally, so I'm going to make a very general statement because, again, this all depends on your business strategy, your product strategy, your product itself, et cetera, and how you go about selling it. But generally, at the bottom of the funnel, or BOFU as it's often referred to, we see content pieces like case studies and customer testimonials to be most effective, because at this point, you know, your leads have gotten pretty far through the funnel. They're now familiar with your solution. They've probably in the middle of the funnel compared your solution to the competitive set that's out there, and now, you know, they're looking to be, you know, they're looking for their decision to be sort of ratified, and that can be done, like I said, with customer testimonials or case studies. And then again, depending on your business, your product and sales strategy, you may even at this point want to offer a free trial. But that's all, you know, that really is business, product, and strategy dependent.
Yeah, this is Hillary, I would definitely agree on that. It definitely depends on what you're selling, who you're selling it to, what your sales cycle looks like. But I'd say if you get further along in that funnel, more value-based messaging, more value-based content, whether it's kind of meaty case studies in terms of ROI from implementing a solution. We've seen some success with ROI calculators or business value assessments that are kind of at the tail end, as you said, kind of trying to justify moving forward in the evaluation.
Great. This question came to us from 2 different people, so very excited to present this to both of you here. We struggle to get insight to sales activity. My sales team doesn't log their activities, and someone weighed in. Sales team doesn't see value in keeping that data in the CRM. How do you solve for getting that data in the CRM and making sure the entire team is motivated to do it completely and in a timely manner?
Yeah, I'm happy to start on that one. So this is not a new problem, but I would say we at People AI tried to take a different approach to this problem in terms of not trying to make people change their behavior. Keep doing what you're doing, but we're still going to automatically capture all the information that we need. So the way that we do it is we actually integrate with your email and your calendar systems and automatically capture all that data. Who are you sending emails to? Who are you receiving emails from? Who are you meeting with? Who are you having calls with? And then intelligently mapping that into the CRM. So a rep actually doesn't have to do anything. That said, there's still a ton of value in that information, not just from a sales leadership or a marketing perspective, but to a rep themselves. If you could actually log in and see, think of it almost like a Fitbit for the way that you spend your day. How am I spending my calories? Am I spending most of my time on internal meetings, or am I actually spending my time on my most high-value accounts, and what's actually moving the needle? So I think what we've seen is once a salesperson actually has access to that data, it's really informative in terms of how they're spending their day and how they can more efficiently spend some of their time and their calories.
Great.
Yeah, that's great, Hillary. I'm a convert of People.ai, so I definitely would. And I definitely give a shout out to your solution because, as you say, you don't have to change people's behaviors. In absence of that, because this is an age-old problem, I think we've relied on SLAs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you go down that path, then you really have to show the performance report and prove to the sales team they actually get better leads from having better data and from the campaigns, the activities that are actually logged inside Salesforce. And then in that case, having meetings with the ops teams and even having a neutral owner of that data is sometimes helpful. But again, if you have the option to have a solution in place that actually tracks all of that for you, that's certainly the way to go.
Great. One more question that just came in. Hillary, I think this is for you here. What are the integrations that People AI supports?
Yeah, we've got, I think, over 90 different integrations, so we can definitely follow up and chat more about that. We had it on one of our slides, but for email and calendaring, it's G Suite, so Gmail and Google Calendar. On the Microsoft platform, it's Exchange. And then we can integrate with phone systems, WebEx systems, anything where you are logging activity through those APIs. We can pull them into our system. But starting off, it's with those email and calendaring systems, and obviously with integrating with Salesforce as well.
Great. We've gone through all the questions that have come through. We'll still leave the webinar open for a couple minutes longer if anyone has additional questions they'd like for us to take offline. Hillary and Christine, thank you so much for your time today and your insights. Definitely appreciate it, and looking forward to doing another webinar with the two of you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. It was really great to be here.